Welcome to Stargate SG-1 for the first time, still not a Star Trek podcast. My name is Jeff Akin, and I'm watching Stargate SG-1 for the first time.
And I'm Brent Allen, and I'm watching Stargate SG-1 for the 47th time. But for the first time, I am looking for what Stargate is trying to teach us. I'm watching the show, searching for those sci-fi messages. You know, those things that hold up a mirror to society, give us hope that things can be better in the future, or just tell us how to be plain better human beings to one another.
We're going to find out if that happens in the 14th episode of the third season of SG-1. We're watching Foothold. And last week, I was asked to predict this one, and my prediction is that some aliens are going to come busting through the Stargate while SG-1 is off on some other planet. Maybe they're attacking Earth, maybe they're just super aggressive, whatever, but they're going to attack. They're going to gain a foothold in the SGC, and when the SG-1 team comes back, we're going to have us some pew, pew, pew going on. Do you have any cool facts about this one other than the pew, pew, pew?
You're a good guesser. Cool facts, not really. It was November 5th, 1999 when this episode first aired. So right after last week, you know, no big break or anything coming out of the two-parter. But there is a fun note that is sort of it's related to this episode. The director of this episode, a guy named Andy Makita. Now, this is a name. I'm not bringing up all the directors. I'm just bringing up the guys that like are major in the in the Stargate world. You know, people like Robert C. Cooper, Peter DeLuise, Martin Wood. Andy Makita is one of these guys.
Oh, okay.
He is going to go on to direct 64 episodes across the entire franchise. 21 of them are going to be right here in SG-1. This is his first SG-1 episode. However, Jeff, he's actually been around since Children of the Gods.
Okay.
He was first assistant director on half of season 1, every episode of season 2, and pretty much every episode of season 3 to this point. And they finally were like, hey, you first AD, why don't you direct an episode now? So he directs an episode.
See what you got.
Again, it worked out pretty well for him because he goes on to be a very consistent director. He also is a producer, comes on as a producer eventually. He's a production manager. He's the second unit director of all 3 franchises for a lot of the episodes. So the guy's just like, when you talk about people who make Stargate, this is a dude making Stargate. And this is his first episode where he's directing, and he really gets to helm an episode. So I'm really excited for this episode.
Really?
You know how I often talk about if we were to give Stargate the beam me up treatment, which is the, you know, where do you go through and you kind of say, that's an episode we're doing, that's an episode, that's an episode, and we're going to leave these ones out. This is an episode that, at least as far as the message goes, I don't know that this one has a big message in it, but it's one that I just have a gut feeling watching it with this particular lens, I'm going to come out with something I've never seen before.
Awesome. That'll be fun.
So I'm kind of excited to really jump into this episode because I don't know what it is. Like, I'm thinking for it. I'm going, I have no idea. This is not the Knox where I can tell you exactly what that message is. This is not, you know, a couple other episodes I can't mention yet, but
thanks. Here's all that build up and poof, nothing.
Now that has nothing to do with the quality of the episode, Jeff. I'll let you decide that for yourself. But speaking of quality of the episode, why don't we go ahead and jump into this one, Foothold? What do you say?
Let's do it.
All right. Well, listen, if you are joining us for the first time here at Stargate SG-1 for the first time, first of all, welcome. You're amazing. You're awesome. And we're so glad that you have chosen to join us here. The way this works is Jeff and I have not already watched this episode, and we've come in prepared with notes to talk about it. We're going to go watch the episode right now. If you're hanging out with us on YouTube, stick around because you're going to get our reaction, cut up reaction. If you want the full unedited version, head over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/Bye
Nerds.
And if you're listening on a podcasting app, one of our incredible audio listeners, you're about to gate into the future. We'll be there waiting for you. I'm going to share my for the first time reactions. Brent's going to share that message if he finds it.
If it's a big if, right?
It's a big if. We're either going to have a nice Chevron conversation or none whatsoever, but we'll find out right after we watch this episode. Brent, let's do it. Let's watch Foothold.
Chevron 7 locked.
right, Jeff, we are back having just watched Foothold. It's ended less than 30 seconds ago. Your first time watch, my God knows how many time watch, to be honest with you, but I was looking for some messages. Jeff, you get to go first, my friend. Give us your thoughts on this episode.
I think what you just said kind of sums it up. Your God knows how many times. This is a wildly rewatchable episode, I think.
Absolutely.
This is a lot of fun. I'm a little bit older than you are, and so my formative like TV shows and movies, we have a little bit of a difference there. But do you remember, I don't know, mid 80s, there was a show, it was a remake from like a 50s movie, but called Invaders from Mars.
Yep.
Loved that. I read that book when I was in grade school and they came out with the movie, and we just watched the TV adaptation right here.
Right.
Or more than that, hey, what if we did TNG's Conspiracy just maybe a little bit, with an actual ending to it.
Without the worms? No worms?
Little boop, 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 boop sticking out of their neck things. No, this is a great episode. This is a lot of fun. And I think coming off what we watched last week, it needed to be like this, needed to have some oomph to it a little bit, but just a good episode, right? Just here. Hey, here's a cool bad guy thing of the week. What I think I love the most that I got in this one is I love how this show has been written in such a way that my first instinct was they ended up in a fake SGC that someone built up and cloned them. And like that thought was totally feasible.
Well, you've seen it before. I mean, I think it was the beginning of this season, right? Like They woke up out of cryo freeze and they were in a fake SGC. They went to another world and there's a fake set of SG teams. Like they've certainly built it up to be plausible for sure.
I think, and they've given you the science and the mechanism. Streams can get redirected, and intercepted for things. And so it's like, yeah, you never know if where you're going is where you never know if where you end up is where you thought you were going. I thought that was cool. I want to give you a lot of credit on this one in that I was really enjoying this episode, but we paused partway through and you said, hey, do you believe that everything that Sam and Tilk are experiencing is actually what they're experiencing? There are aliens there, whatever, or what fake Dr. Fraser said of, it's the chemical spill. It's a hallucination. As soon as you asked that question, that hadn't even occurred to me at that point. I was just taking it at face value and enjoying the whole thing. Oh, this is going to be a whatever. That little wrinkle thrown in there added so much to this episode. Oh my gosh, is this guy that? Is that really this? Is this? And then when they kindly came out and they had the He-Man room with everybody hanging down.
The He-Man room.
They look just like He-Man
they
armor.
Did,
You're
yeah,
right.
Absolutely.
So yeah, super cool. I like this one quite a bit. Good Tilk episode in the beginning. Just a total, one-man army.
Yeah.
Kicking butt, big time. We met Major Davis for the first time?
Not for the first time. This is actually his third appearance in the show. I happened to look it up after we talked about it. But yeah, that's Major Davis. We did see him in the episode A Matter of Time.
Okay.
We've also seen him in the episode Into the Fire, which was our season premiere of this episode. Oh, no, wait. Yeah. It was a season premiere.
Yeah.
We saw him there, but I think this might be the first time we've really gotten any major words outside of I'm Major Davis, we've been waiting for you, here we go.
Well, even Jack was like, who are you?
So Major Davis is going to become a recurring character.
Cool.
And you'll get to know him, not quite on the level of Dr. Fraser, but he's a guy who's around. So
nice.
You'll see him in other shows and you'll be like, hey, that's Major Davis from Stargate. Like this will be where you know him from.
So that's kind of cool. I think what was neat in this one, Mayburn, we've been trained to know that guy's a piece of work. We don't like him all the way up until almost the very end. I was sure he was one of the aliens, but turns out he's just a jerk. Mm-hmm. But Jack gave him his due at the end, and Mayburn gave Sam her. Hey, I credit all of this to Major Carter. Hey, and then he's like, hey, I'm going to go. Maybe I'll see you again. And Jack says, that would be nice. I thought that was really cool. We've had a lot of great leadership moments from O'Neill throughout the series so far, but this one was huge and one that we don't talk about a lot. Just the whole idea of like, you've proven yourself to be a not great and trustworthy person. I'm not gonna have that stick with you. You can change. You did good, and I'm going to acknowledge that you did good. I'm not gonna like tongue in cheek the whole thing and find a way to still insult you or whatever. I thought really big moment from Jack in this one. In addition to my reactions, Brent, we also are tracking a couple things in this series, and we have a For Crying Out Loud.
We get to add that to the list. Adding that to the list. You know what I really wanted? I kept looking for it. I kept expecting it and just never manifested, was a Daniel death. Because had she shot fake Daniel and we saw Michael Shanks die on screen,
that would count.
That's a Daniel death, and that would have counted. But alas, we did not.
This is our first For Crying Out Loud in quite a while.
It feels like it, doesn't it? It certainly feels like it. But anyway, grabbing our tracking sheet here, this is going to bring us up, Jeff, to 19 For Crying Out Loud so far over the course of the show. We are at 6 Daniel deaths, by the way, for anybody. It doesn't feel like it's been that many, but it has been that many. We've got 2 Indeeds. We've had to have missed some Indeeds.
100%. I'm positive we have.
Yeah. And we have 3 Sam boyfriends, just to update the tracking sheet there.
Normally, this is the piece where we shift and you talk about the messages and assign chevrons, but I just want to pause for a minute and say my prediction, I kind of sort of nailed this one.
Here's the part you got wrong. In your prediction, you said the SG-1 would return at just the right time and like later in the show, and they'd pew it out and solve the whole problem. It literally started with that. And then we got the rest of the episode exactly as you nailed it. You got this one, dude. You nailed it.
Yeah, I'm going to count it.
Yeah. You get full credit. You get full point on this one for sure.
I love it because, again, like not only does the show set itself up that I can automatically assume cool things, but it's also set itself up that with a name like Foothold, I can do the math and say, well, somebody's going to come and attack because they're on the map now. I don't know. I really want to acknowledge that for not being a serialized show, we've talked about this a lot, but it does such a great job of just planting the seeds and doing the world building that pays off in just little ways like this. Is really great.
So I will tell you, the title for next week's episode makes perfect sense, but only once you've seen the complete episode.
Great.
What I didn't remember as a person who's seen the show for so long was I just tracking the show, taking everything at face value, believing that these guys are really aliens and they're making up this BS story about hallucinations and whatever, or was I really going back and forth between, wait, is it a hallucination or is it real? Is it a hallucination or is it real? And I'm not really sure which way it's going to go. And I wasn't sure how you took that as a first time viewer. So
up until you planted the seed, I was just taking it as it was.
I didn't plant the seed. The show planted the seed. I just watered it a little
and just showed it. Hey, look, here's the thing germinating right here. I'm curious if this episode recolored or reset anything for you as far as messages go. Did you find anything in this one?
You know, Jeff, I said prior to watching this episode, I was really excited because this is an episode that I didn't necessarily think would have a whole lot of messages in it, but I just felt this was going to be one that gave us a lot of messages, and I'd find something new in this episode I've never seen before. This is an episode I've seen countless amount of times, like for real. Like when I'm just hanging out, want to watch an episode of Stargate, if I come across Foothold, I'm probably stopping and watching this episode. It's just a fun episode to me. I really, really love this episode. Unfortunately, I was completely wrong, Jeff. There's really not much going on in terms of message. The only thing I think I could get, and this maybe falls under the category of how to be better human beings to each other, give credit where credit's due. Like we saw right there at the very tail end, like, hey, thank you. You're an enemy, but we don't really like you, but we're actually on the same side. So we can, at least be nice. And who knows, maybe we'll be friends. But anyway, extend an olive branch. Give credit where credit's due. You don't have to be enemies. You're actually on the same side. Is that really a heavy message in this episode? No. Is that what this episode's about? No. Are they trying to teach us anything? No. So while that's one of those, like, if I'm grasping at straws, I could maybe pull that out, but I'm not giving this one any chevrons, Jeff.
That's fair. That's very fair.
Now, I rate the episode based on how strong the message is. Sometimes there's just not one there. But you know what there always is? A spot on our 100% completely accurate and definitive ranking of season 3 of Stargate SG-1, which you, my friend, are solely in control of placing these episodes in that order. Our current top 5, I'm going to go our top 5 here, is the double episode, Joel and R's Memories and Devil You Know, which was what we had last week. Fantastic set of episodes there.
Yeah.
Number 2 was Forever in a Day, which we heard about that one a lot here, about the Harcesis child and Keb and trying to find out where Keb is. And it turns out it wasn't over there, but who are these guys? Fair Game was another one. Learning Curve was another episode. And our number 5 is Into the Fire. That would be our season premiere. Jeff, does this episode crack the top 5? And if so, and even if not, where do you rank this episode, Foothold?
Looking at some notes here. I'm not gonna lie, this is a tough one for me. And you might be surprised at where it's a tough one. So I had to go back and look at some of my notes. We've had some incredible episodes, especially from last week. I don't know if this is going to be controversial or not, but you know what? It's my list. I get to call things whatever I want.
You do.
This, Brent, is going to be our new number 4 episode.
Wow. All right.
I was considering, is it going to be number 3 or number 4?
Mm-hmm.
But I really appreciated Fair Game for, bringing in the Asgard, and just, it was big. It was a big episode and had a lot. It was also really well done.
Fair Game, just for those playing at home, trying to remember, Fair Game is the episode where we had the Gould system lords come in and try to create the treaty and try to include Earth on the Protected Worlds Treaty with the Asgard. I was trying to think the Thor's race with the Asgard. You literally just said that a minute ago. So that was Fair Game. So you're putting this one right below that episode, right above Learning Curve.
Yeah, which was a really good episode. We just watched that one a couple of weeks ago and enjoyed it. It was cool. Another callback kind of episode thing. But this was just, I think this one I'm really rating this high just on its rewatchability. Like, I literally might watch this when we're done recording again.
Oh, yeah. It's absolutely worth it. Absolutely worth it. Well, Jeff, that's going to do it for us here for Foothold. Let's talk about next week's episode. Maybe it's an episode you'll also want to watch. Maybe not, but you're not allowed to watch it till we do it together for this show.
Fair.
I told you already, this is an episode that once you see it, you'll understand the name. But I'm curious if maybe you'll be able to predict what the episode actually is about just based on the title. The title for next week's episode is Pretense.
Pretense.
What do you think Pretense might be?
Somebody, I'm going to put this one on Hammond, but Hammond's going to have an idea, a pretense, and they're going to operate on that, and it's going to be a big mistake. That's really general. I have no idea what this pretense doesn't really tell you a lot.
Let's define what the word pretense means.
Okay.
Because I kind of want to schmooze this in for you just a little bit. Pretenses is when you are putting up a front to mask what you're really trying to do.
I'm going to stick with the Hammond thing. Hammond's got a false pretense going, and he's got some other game that he's playing. I don't think it's necessarily going to be nefarious, though.
Okay.
Like, that's going to be the thing at the end you figure out. It's like, oh, he had this thing going the whole time. In fact, here we go. Because pretense doesn't have to be a negative thing, right? So he's going to put him through some stuff, like bad stuff or whatever. And in the end, it's going to be like, hey, congratulations, General O'Neill. Like, maybe it's a whole thing about it, but a way to recognize somebody or promote somebody or something like that. So it's going to be a positive pretense.
We're going to promote you, but actually what we're trying to do is make you retire, get you out of here.
Right? Yeah. Congratulations. Here's your star, and you can just go that way. Thank you.
Hey, we're going to take you off the bridge of your ship, and we're going to make you an admiral, and we're going to shelf you because we don't want to talk to you anymore. Jeff, you are a good guesser, my friend.
Oh, well, thank you.
We'll find out just how close you are next week, right here on Stargate SG-1 for the first time. Hey, listen, thank you guys out there so much for joining us. Don't forget that wherever you're getting this show, whether it's on YouTube or Patreon or Apple Podcast, Google Podcast, not anymore because that went away a while ago. But where else? Spotify, Audible.com.
Overcast. Castbox.
Oh gosh, are those still around? Jeez. Wherever you're listening to us, leave us a rating and review, particularly if that's available on whatever platform you are. That really helps. That helps spread the word. It helps let people know that this is a cool show. And the biggest thing you can do that we would really appreciate is you share this show with somebody else that you know who loves Stargate SG-1, or somebody who, like my friend Jeff over there, needs to get into the gate for the very first time. So with that, we're going to sign off here for today saying,
Hey,
Foothold.
Brent.
Yes, Jeff.
It occurs to me, how do I know that you are really you?
How?
I need you to open your shirt up. I need to see your chest. Come on, just open it up. Let me see. Make sure it's just you.
For crying out loud.